while back I discussed a particularly weak year in animation, but weak doesn't automatically translate to worst. I was more discussing on how barely anything released in that year, but what about a year that genuinely had barely anything good come out? A year that could be defined as a truly bad year for animation. For me, no other year was quite as overwhelmed with lackluster releases quite like 2013. This is, in my definition, the absolute worst year for animated films. I'm talking of the 10 films I'm planning to discuss within this year of animated flicks, 2 of them I would actually consider good. Really, 1.5, I'll get to that later. So, let's take a look at 2013, animation's worst year. This movie sucks, the soundtrack is so damn annoying, and it's a princess film from Disney? That's my 10 seconds of sounding like the biggest virgin on the internet. Anyways, Frozen, Disney's film this year. Look, people have ripped this film apart purely for having an annoying soundtrack, and even with that, I'm sorry, I don't hate it. First of all, most of the songs are honestly pretty catchy. There's nothing downright annoying here. I guess Let It Go is overplayed, but it's a damn catchy song. I'd say the only song I found actually annoying was Fixer Upper. That's because it's the equivalent of Topsy Turvy from Hunchback. I mean, come on, even though it's a Disney princess film, it challenges a lot of Disney princess norms. Like, love at first sight. How many fucking Disney movies are there that they don't let the princess fall in love at first sight? This is the company that made Snow freaking White, where the prince was in it for 10 seconds and they get married at the end. I also like that if you don't count the most annoying shit in this movie, the film doesn't really have a villain. It would have been easy to make Elsa the villain, which apparently was the original plan, but A, it makes Elsa a more interesting character than just being a villain. And B, how the hell are we supposed to sell Frozen merch if Elsa's a villain? Don't see any kids walking around with any Hans dolls. Speaking of which, yeah, the twist villain is kinda lame. This actually kicked off the worst kind of trend in Disney movies, the bad kind. The trend of twist villains that doesn't make any sense. This, Big Hero 6, Zootopia, hell, even Pixar was guilty of it later on. It doesn't distract from the film, but it is a glaring flaw next to the not gargoyles from Hunchback. Also, I love Anna as a character, but she actually was part of the trend of quirky protagonists replacing the more noble and prestige princesses of the past. Thanks, Rapunzel, for setting Disney back 20 years. Rapunzel, you bitch! Honestly, it's not my all-time favorite Disney movie, but I just can't hate it. It's too damn charming. Not Frozen 2, though. F*** that movie. I'm not discussing this stupid-ass movie. How did Disney rip themselves off? Pixar's release this year was Monsters University, a prequel to one of their top-tier films, Monsters, Inc. Now, initially, I wasn't big on this one for 2 reasons. Firstly is the fact I didn't find it very funny, at least at first. But that was coming from someone who finds Monsters, Inc. to be one of Pixar's funniest films. Secondly, college buddy films have been done to death, but usually, with films like Animal House and Old School, they're aimed towards adults, so making a college buddy film for kids definitely seems to be a challenge. But looking back, I actually found myself surprisingly enjoying it. The second half surprisingly goes into a new side of Mike Wazowski that kinda makes sense. Nobody finds him scary. Also, I was wrong, this film's damn near perfect on the humor.
I'm Terry with a Y.
And I'm Terry with an I. I'm a dance major.
And I'm not.
5, 6, 7, 8. I just love my
I think the writing is also very on par with Pixar, like this line here.
After you lose, no one will remember you.
Maybe, but when you lose, no one will let you forget it.
The way it's delivered works really well. It definitely boasts that early 2010s Pixar drought that we saw, but honestly, I think it's better than what I remember. Also, it has Charlie Day in it. I'm not hating anything with Charlie Day.
Trust me when I say you are not gonna want to touch this bad boy. I want to.
Hey, an Illumination film hype. I talked about Illumination's 2018 film The Grinch, which I mentioned I didn't like, but I'll say I like Despicable Me 2 a little more. I still think it's incredibly weak next to the first film, but being Despicable Me 2, I guess it's better than most of us came to expect. This is sadly the last good sequel in the franchise, and you can tell this was the film where the Minions became a larger focus, but it still has funny bits, and can I just say, minus Maxime from Despicable Me 4, none of the Despicable Me villains have sucked, and I like this guy, a cool character that shows that Illumination can do good writing, it's just rare. All things considered, it's weak, but better than most Illumination's catalog. Sony Pictures Animation released Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, a sequel I don't think I've ever seen anyone actually say anything positive about. And looking at it as a whole, it's not hard to see why. The first film was incredibly well written, it showcased how quick-witty humor can work for both kids and adults. This time it's just food puns, and none of them are that funny. Guys, we're really cheesing now. We really gotta cut the baloney. What are we, some kind of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2? Britt Lockwood, you're going to federal prison.
Also a laugh track.
Also, Flint seems incredibly douchey here, and for no reason. You can kind of blame it on Chester V manipulating him, but in the beginning, it's shown Flint does care about his friends, so it kind of seems far-fetched that he would just turn against them. And even then, he turns against them because of a childhood idol. I am not crashing out on Gabe or Michael just because of the Crab Brothers, dude. Dude, do you guys remember that, like, animated one that they did on PBS? Dude, what was the girl's name? I can't remember the girl's name, but dude, Awakening happened with that. It's not as funny as the first film, and it seems out of character. It's not awful, it's just not the first film.
There's a leak in the boat!
DreamWorks had 2 mediocre films this year. Their better film was The Croods. I've mentioned my love for this film and its sequel, but looking back, I definitely see the flaws people mention. First, it is overall pretty boring story-wise, and I realize with this and Detective Pikachu, it is possible for Ryan Reynolds to distract in voice acting. He's not bad in either of those films, but he's got a voice that can distract from otherwise good writing. By the way, the writing is hilarious. Nicolas Cage makes for a hilarious role as Grug, Emma Stone is fun as Eep, and look, as an avid Hot Tub Time Machine enthusiast, we stan Clark Duke on this channel. But the story is pretty boring, and this film sadly has a very bland visual style that pretty much all the DreamWorks films had at the time. But I enjoy it, however, it is flawed. Turbo is DreamWorks' other film this year, and it's definitely the worst of the two. I'm a pretty big fan of NASCAR due to my dad being a former pit crew member of David Gilliland, so I like racing movies. This, Days of Thunder, the Cars films, and especially when they showcase the nature of NASCAR. Turbo doesn't, but that's more because it's along the lines of F1 racing, which is understandable if you take out the fact that Guy Gagné, the film's antagonist, comes out of nowhere. Yeah, this year was a sad time for twist villains, as not only Disney but DreamWorks were guilty of them. This guy never showed that he was egotistical or mean at all before, so his turn on Turbo makes absolutely no sense. When I laugh at stupid-ass memes like this more than I do at the actual film, obviously the film is not good. I don't think it's DreamWorks' worst, but it is certainly weak. Blue Sky's release this year was epic. No, it was not actually epic, it's just the title. Epic is certainly a weaker Blue Sky film, but I've talked about Blue Sky in general, so I'll keep this short. Despite being some decently gorgeous animation, none of the characters are interesting, and the story is straight up boring. Despite many funny and talented names attached to this film, it's almost never funny. It's nothing special, but it's not quite the worst animated film of 2013. This is. Escape from Planet Earth isn't one of the worst animated films of all time, but rather, it is one of the most generic. The story follows an alien having to save his brother from our planet, and dude, most of this film's problems come from one simple issue. It does what so many other animated films have done and does nothing new.
I really need to get that mold checked, and I also gotta get my prostate. George Lopez!
Escape from Planet Earth is as basic as it gets. It is the purest example of a movie made to shut toddlers up. Truly, to me, it may not be one of the worst animated films of all time, but it truly is the worst animated film of 2013. Wait, Freebirds? Freebirds as in the movie where the 2 turkeys go back in time to the first Thanksgiving to get turkeys off the menu? Wait, the movie where the 2 turkeys played by Owen Wilson and Woody Harrelson go back in time to the first Thanksgiving to get turkeys off the menu? That's right, the movie where 2 turkeys played by Owen Wilson and Woody Harrelson get in a time machine to go back in time to the first Thanksgiving to get turkeys off the menu. Thank God this movie has this meme, otherwise it has fucking nothing. It's not awful, it's just a basic animated film. Really, outside of the meme, I have nothing else to say. I didn't hate it like Planet Earth, but I didn't like it like Frozen or Monsters University.
Also, this is my Thanksgiving special, so eat a lot of turkey balls. Bye!